This is really hard, but I believe our faith will get us through this. This is the first venue that I've had in which I could say to Todd and Stacy's family, I am so sorry for your loss. I've never been able to tell you that because I was told I could not have access to you. My son wants you to know that he is deeply remorseful for the pain that he has caused you and the other members of the family for your loss. During his trial, Stacy's mother's victim's impact statement was read for her because she was not able to be there. And in her letter, she said that she prayed that the boys involved in the death of her daughter would come to know Jesus. And I'm here to say that her prayer was answered. Also, the church that Todd and Stacy belonged to back in Iowa prayed the same prayer. And the testimony at trial was that Todd and Stacy, during the commission of the crime, prayed for those 6 boys. I think it's important that we know that 4 of those boys have been released from prison, but my son and Brandon Bernard are still on death row. They were the only ones at the time of the crime old enough to face the death penalty. And I believe that there is a lot of injustice in his case, and the system refused to acknowledge it. From a trial judge that was an alcoholic that had been prosecuted for multiple sexual harassment cases, allegations of racketeering against him at one point, to his lead trial attorney, who had a severe conflict of interest. He was attempting to gain employment with the very office that was trying to kill my son. And that should be enough to bring this justice system to an awakening that is deeply flawed. Deeply flawed. And I feel that I have a special understanding of the legal system because I've seen it from both sides of the courtroom. In 2009, my daughter's ex-husband attempted to murder her. He bludgeoned her in the head with a hammer, poured gasoline over her, and set her on fire. She survived with 2nd and 3rd degree burns over 80% of her body. And she forgave her attacker shortly after it happened, and that gave her a quality of life that the average victim will never know. And she taught me that I had to forgive, and it changed my life from being in a perpetual state of victimhood to a life that I can put that behind me and see that there is peace in that. And we all need to understand that these men are not all the same. Their cases are, every one of them are different. There are different circumstances to every case. You can't just put a arbitrary standard against them all. And what they've failed to even calculate into the process is that there is an ability to be redeemed and rehabilitated. I agree that not all of them are in that place or may not have that ability to hear the Father's voice and reckon to that. But my son has been renewed. He's a new man. As he said in his own words, he is changed and he's redeemed. And I believe that with all my heart. And that's why I'm able to let him go today. I believe that the Father is taking him home And I'm okay with that. There's a peace in knowing that I will see him again. Thank you.
Lisa, can we just ask you what you would like people to know about your son? First of all, I want to say, too, we appreciate you speaking to us, because normally we don't get
I know that.
this side of the family.
I feel like I have an obligation to be the voice of the voiceless. I spent 21 years without a voice, and I've been so thankful in these last couple of months that through Abe and some other outlets that I was given back my voice. And I had to be quiet in the media, mainly because they were so, in my hometown, they were so vicious and wrote so many lies about me and my son and just everything. And so I had no desire to speak to the media over these years. But the most important thing about Christopher is that he is not that 19-year-old that was convicted 21 years ago. He is a new man. I can't stress that enough. The Father has done a mighty work in him. And the last 10 years, he converted to my faith, which is Messianic Judaism. And he asked the chaplain, the prison chaplain, to allow him to hold services on Saturdays for the men that were of like mind. So the maximum of people that he can have in his congregation, I'll call it that, is 7, counting himself, because they are, when they worship in cages, is what my son calls them. They are each in an individual cage, and they can speak to each other, see each other, that kind of thing. He has led the Passover Seder for the last 7 years inside the prison. He has 6 other inmates that are of his faith. And I asked him, I said, of those 6, how many do you feel will hold on to their faith when their time comes? And he said 4. And that blessed me extremely. He doesn't like to say that he's a leader in that regard because he likes to give them the opportunity to speak their mind and express their opinions, and it not to be completely structured. But that has been my biggest blessing, is to know that he has passed his faith on to others.
And when you visited with him yesterday, what was his demeanor? I mean, is he resigned to what's going to happen? Is he...
Thank you for that question. Christopher and I, we thought, both of us, we both prayed very strong because we thought the last visit was going to be extremely painful for both of us. But we had previously had what we call the hard discussions, and so we were able to work out some of those things, questions that we'd never asked each other and that kind of thing. But my son's comment when I came back to the hotel last night, he called and he said, "Mama, that visit put me exactly where I need to be now, and that's at peace." He was even joking about his pizza not having enough toppings on it. And if you can joke about something like that when you're facing death, you're at peace. And I feel he's at peace, I'm at peace, because we both have the same faith, and we both believe that he's redeemed and he's been forgiven. I'm sorry.
Are you going to be watching?
I will be a witness, yes. So will my oldest sister. And we also brought in his minister of record from Michigan will be there in the chamber with him. Ma'am?
Kol Nidre is just a few days away. What does it mean to you guys knowing that as part of the Jewish faith that this is happening just before that?
I believe it's significant, and I would even go so far as to say it's divinely chosen, because not only is he dying between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, to me that is a statement of his atonement, and he's also the 7th, and that's the number of completion. And so I believe that the Father has finished a work in him, and he's ready to go home.
And you've come to visit him, I take it, several times over the last
Four times. Oh, over the years, yes. Annually, yes. But last month I had 3 visits with him, and this month I've had 4. Yes, we're very, very close. Christopher and I have always been close, and it's a relationship where we feel like we can almost complete each other's sentences. That, you know, he said to one of the last things he said at visit was what I always say to him, and is, I love you to the moon and back.